One Piece is a series that you could say it's not really known for its fights. There are different anime where you would typically search on YouTube or go to for their fights: Dragon Ball, Naruto, JJK, and a lot more. And Oda, he even stated in an interview that the reason why he chose not to incorporate or focus more on fights in his scene is because he would never be able to compete with Dragon Ball back in the day. And that's not to say that One Piece doesn't have any decent fights, because they do have good choreography, animations, and emotion behind some of the battles, which is what makes it good. But each of the Straw Hats have had their fair shares of battles throughout the entirety of the series, and I thought it'd be a good idea to talk about what I consider to be their best fights in this series. But if you guys enjoy regular anime content, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video. Also, I recently started streaming on Twitch. I am currently streaming the Berserk manga live. I go through and read about 20-25 chapters each and every stream. If you guys want to be a part of that, I will leave the link in the description below. But that out of the way, my name is Potential Least, and let's talk about each of the Straw Hats' best fights throughout the entirety of the series. First one we're going to start off with is Tony Chopper. I'm not going to lie to you guys, he only has one memorable fight in my opinion, and that's the fight against Kumadori, one of the CP9 agents. His monster point is what makes this fight really memorable, because he didn't want people to see him and view him as a monster. He wanted to be someone who could be accepted and live in society. And the Straw Hats, they see Chopper as a monster, but they also see him as a reindeer, see him as a person, and truly accepted him. So Chopper decided to become a monster to help his friends, and that's the only reason why I like the fight, is because, well, number one is Chopper is really only 1v1, and two, the emotions behind it is really what makes this such a phenomenal fight. Next up we have Usopp. I'm not gonna lie to you, I wanted to go with his fight against Piranha because of the whole negative aspect behind it, seeing him as the only one who could take on a opponent that Zoro, Franky, and Sanji couldn't do. I thought that was really cool for Usopp as a character, someone who's weak. He was able to take on someone because of his ability that it stands out from the others. Really unique in that aspect. I also like his fight against Sugar because of how he had to deal with his internal struggles of being scared. We know Usopp wants to be a brave warrior of the sea, and so him defeating Sugar and standing up to her is why that was such a great fight. But for Usopp's best fight, I'm going to give it to him versus Luffy. It was a battle for the Mary. One wanted to get rid of it and the other one wanted to keep it. I mean, it was more detailed than that, but for the sake of the video, we're just gonna say it's that. And Usopp, he did everything in his arsenal in order to keep up with Luffy in this fight. He used impact dials, he used stars that would hurt Luffy, and he positioned himself pretty well in order to try and defeat him. Another fight that I liked for its emotion rather than the animation and the choreography. Not saying that it was bad, but just the emotional appeal behind it is what made it so good. Nico Robin, she honestly has like 2 1v1 fights in the entirety of the series. She fought against Yama on Skypiea, and I remember a long time the community was waiting for her to get another 1v1 or just another fight in general, and her best fight happened in Wano against Black Maria. First, because of the situation, Robin was relied upon and someone wanted her. We know that in Ennis Lobby it was an arc of how she was constantly on the run because nobody wanted her. And second, the animation, oh my goodness, her turning into that demon for her friends, it was so beautiful. Then her actually trapping Black Maria, hitting her in that lock, and then breaking her bones, it was gas. The fight was good for the emotion, the choreography, and the animation. Brook's another character who does not really get many 1v1s. His fight against Big Mom though, even though he lost, that fight was straight heat, because you have to look at the situation he was in. Brook was going against an Emperor of the Sea without any fear in him. He challenged her and gave it his all because number one, he knew that he had to try and get the rubbings, which he was successful in getting, and two, he did it for the sake of the crew, specifically for Luffy and Sanji. And I will say that scene of Brook jumping off of the scaffold in order to face Big Mom, that was cold AF. Nami's a tricky one because Even though she's the navigator, she's not very strong. She has potential to have really good fights. Like her fight against Ulti, I think it could have been so good. It was a little bit disappointing because, don't get me wrong, Nami had her different moments of going against her and using Zeus to finish her off, but Big Mom did a lot of damage to her. Her fight against Miss Double Finger, it was a good candidate, but at the same time, Nami was running away for a majority of the fight. So the next fight, and I guess her last one that I say is her best one, was against Khalifa, because the context behind it, she needed to defeat a CP9 agent to get the key, and also Sanji had just been defeated by her and she made fun of him, so Nami took his place and had to get his get back as well as hers. And so it was very creative, the fight. It was in the bathroom setting, so it was kind of fitting because Nami is good with weather, and so her used the Mirage Temple, different illusions, finish her off with a Thunderbolt Temple as well. A really good fight for Nami here. Franky's fights and him as a character, they're both underrated. Franky versus Soxy, that was good, had a good back and forth instance. Their first interaction was really good. I will say his finisher was a little bit underwhelming. In the manga, the coloring I saw somebody do was really good, but in the anime it was a little bit anticlimactic in my opinion. His fight against Fukuro, I believe the CP9 agent, that was good as well. Nothing more was really crazy about it. I think other Straw has had better fights against CP agents in their arcs. That's why I don't want to include him here. I'd say my personal favorite fight and his best one would probably be against Senior Pink, a battle between hard-boiled men. Franky tanking his best attack, going up into the sky, the Meow Meow suplex. Franky got up and used his best attack, Franky Iron boxing, and destroyed him. It was just so many emotion behind this battle where I really enjoyed it. People want to say Jinbe versus Big Mom should be number one, but at the same time, it was a one-sided attack that Jinbe landed on her, and I'd say Ace and Jinbe's fight could be a good candidate. They fought back and forth on equal ground for multiple days, but at the same time, most of that fight was off-screen. So I'd say his best fight was against Who's Who. Rob Hucci, he was basically the roided version of an Ennis Lobby Lucci. He had Haki, has a similar double for and the Ryoshiki techniques, and what Who's Who said during that fight really ticked me off a little bit. I don't want to say it was racist, but at the same time, it was on a level of kind of a touchy subject in regards to fishermen being slaves, something along those lines. And so Jinbe, after going back and forth with him for a little bit, he ended up finally snapping and putting him down. Is it bad that I want to include Jabra on this list? And that's simply because of how Sanji was able to achieve the Diablo Jamba. I think that's my favorite power-up in One Piece. I also want to mention his fight against Gin was really good. I think they did a reanimation of it, and that's why I love it, the back and forth aspect. And Sanji spit his cigarette out and, you know, attack him. That was dope as well. Luffy versus Sanji was good. It's my favorite moment, and it had a lot of emotion behind it, but I didn't include it because it was really more of a one-sided fight. So my personal favorite, and the one I'm considering Sanji's best, has to be against Queen because of the emotion behind it. I'm not going to get too into it. I've already done a video about why Sanji versus Queen was so important, and I did a video recently about the impact of Zoro and Sanji versus King and Queen. I'll leave those in the descriptions below. But because of Sanji dealing with his internal struggles and then him getting stronger, getting the exoskeleton, making him more durable, and Ifrit Jinbe making his kicks hotter and stronger, he leveled up and was able to defeat Queen, where the emotion, the animation, and the choreography of this fight was nothing short of superb. Aside from Luffy, Zoro probably has the most fights out of the Straw Hats in the series. His fight against Ryuma was good. He got a new sword. His fight against Killer was good as well. It was a new standard of Zoro fights in terms of animation. I'd say his clash, or his, well, I don't want to say fight because he got dog walk against Mihawk. That was really good as well because of everything it stood for, his dreams and his ambitions. But at the same time, I feel like the first fight would pale in comparison to what we would get in their final fight, the battle for the world's strongest. So the fight that I'm giving to be Zoro's best is his fight against King, because this is the first time that we had seen Zoro struggle or being pushed to this extent by someone throughout the entirety of the time skip. And as a Zoro fan, I'd say it was really refreshing. Zoro, he ended up leveling up in the fight and got advanced conquerors, and then he went up against King, where the climax was amazing. I love the scene where King said it's biologically impossible for you to defeat me, and he looked like a final boss in this moment. I'm not gonna lie, Zoro ended up cutting him, became the king of hell, and that is his best fight in One Piece. Gotta leave the captain best for last. The emotion behind Lucci versus Luffy round 1, the fact that he said he won't fall again and he didn't, really good candidate. Kaido versus Luffy, that's really darn good too, because it's Luffy transitioning from being on the level of commanders to going into Yonko caliber status or emperor status. And whenever it's finally animated fully, I'll probably have to reconsider it. But for his best fight, I'm going with Luffy versus Katakuri, simply because of, at the start, Katakuri was dog walking him, and then he ended up acknowledging Luffy, saying, hey, you're not that much weaker than me. We saw Gear 4 Snake Man for the first time, and it was really cool seeing a battle of speed and a battle of them dodging and weaving throughout the future, seeing and reading each other. It was like they were playing a high level game of chess. But those are my favorite fights and the ones I consider their best for each of the Straw Hats in the entirety of the series. Let me know your guys' favorites in the comment section below. But thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you guys never saw a new video. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and TikTok. It's on the screen and in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to unleash your potential.